Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Collective Clicks podcast. Today I have Victor Ravichuk joining us, and we're going to talk all about his journey as a real estate investor and some of the things he's learned recently. Victor, great to meet you, or not to meet you, great to see you again. We've known each other for...
I was going to say, we've known each other for a couple of years now.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, 3 years feels right, but I don't know if it's been.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Anyways, great to see you and talk to you. I was just telling you before this call, you're one of my favorite people. And the reason you're one of my favorite people is I consider your number one quality to be that you're naturally curious. And what that means is the things that come out of your mouth, I can trust more than the things that come out of just anybody's mouth, because I know they're not just whatever you feel today. I think I was just reading Highly Effective People, and he talked about how people see the world not as it is, but as they are. And you're one of the people who has less of that disease than the average person, which I respect.
Yes. People tend to fluff things up, make it better than it actually is. And in the background, they're really just suffering. On the external, they're doing great. Yeah, I'm more realistic, because one of my things is tell people how great you are. Awesome. Do it first.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know you, let's talk a little bit about your journey, because I know you've been...
Sure.
How long have you been in this business?
I've been since 2013. Yeah, so that's like, 12 years?
Years under your belt. That's wild. I didn't realize you've been in business that long. So yeah, let's talk about the journey. For anybody who doesn't know you, like, where did you start, and kind of like what are those different chapters of that story? What's changed recently for you?
Okay, so I was born, right? And then my mom had me. I'm just playing. So I'm a Ukrainian immigrant. I came here back in 91 from Ukraine, where pretty much a couple of years back, the Soviet Union just blew up, and these satellite states came into play, and Ukraine was one of those satellite states. Well, we immigrated because of religious persecution, so we're here pretty much as refugees of the Soviet Union. Very fortunate to be here. So, typical immigrant, fresh off the boat.
How old were you?
Sorry?
How old were you at this time?
6, yeah. I was 6 years old.
This is like an early childhood experience.
It was quite the experience. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So I came here pretty much on what is it called? Like a refugee visa. We got sponsored by a local church, and from that point, it was just living off of welfare. My dad would work jobs, my mom would work jobs, like 2-3 jobs at a time. And finally, my dad got his stuff together where he was able to actually open a business, and he did. He was working in tile. I fast forward, I got my degree from Washington State University, go Cougs, to be something that's very easy to get into for real estate, because it helps real estate a lot. Very lateral. I became a nurse, because that's very relative to real estate. I'm kidding, of course. It's not relevant at all. So I did that for 7 years, was a pediatric nurse for kids with like hearts literally beating out of their chest, I kid you not, and kids with like trachs and just crazy things like that too. But very privileged to be in that position, to make a huge impact in people's lives. So I did that for 7 years, and I was like, man, I got this entrepreneurial bug in me. What do I do? So I did the thing that most people do, is I type into Google how to make money, and real estate kept coming up and up and up and up. And so I was like, interesting. So that's where I started to be like, what is this real estate? Well, how do I get involved into it? I went to a couple of RIAs, and then one thing led to another, where I discovered wholesaling. And people were telling me, wholesaling, this thing is where you sign a contract, you don't have to have any money. I'm like, great. I don't have any. Don't have money. I'm a nurse. I get paid like $4,500 a month. That was considered big money back then. So I was doing this like on the weekends, on my days off, just grinding away. And I kid you not, I would work night shift, where I would go to work at 7 p.m. I'd get off shift at 7 a.m. 8 o'clock, 8:30, I'd start my day with real estate, work until 12, 1, 2 o'clock, meet with sellers, go to bed, wake up at pretty much like at 4, so you have very little sleep. And I repeat that over and over and over again until I I decided to quit. Decided to quit my job, and I decided to quit because I was like, you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You're getting in the way of your real estate career really blowing up because you are at work. You're not able to take leads. They're coming in during the day. You're asleep. You can't do that. So I made the very scary decision to quit my job. And that was hard. During that time, my wife was still working, and we had a new girl on the way. So my wife was pregnant. This was like April. Yeah, this was pretty much April. It was no certainty. There was no certainty that I would make it. But I just believed in myself that I would. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. And figure it out I did. After I quit, pretty much 2 months later, I get this whopping deal for $42,000, another deal for $48,000, and the rest is history, right? I just found a way to make it work. Not that it was perfect by any means, but really that was just like a massive aha moment is you can't be in one thing and another thing. Like focus is key. When you divert your focus, that's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, I'm okay being mediocre in multiple things. So I'm a huge testament to like the book, maybe you've heard of it, The Pumpkin Plan, right? You got to cut off all the vines. You got to focus on that one pumpkin and how do you grow that one pumpkin? So that's what I did. I said, I'm not going to try to flip. I'm not going to try to do these other shiny object syndromes. I'm just going to focus on wholesaling. And I did. And I got with a coach that took me from $30,000 a month all the way up to 120, 200,000, 300,000. One point we were doing like 600,000, 800,000 a month. And that was before 2022. And everybody knows what happened after 2022 in June. Thank you so much for the crash of real estate. And now we're in a better spot. We're making about, on average, I'd say about 200, 300,000 a month.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, that's quite the journey. So I know you've been working with us doing PPC for how long now? At least.
Well, in totality, we've been with you guys for 3 years. We've done Facebook with you. We're actually also doing Facebook with you guys, and we're doing SEO, and on top of that, Google My Business. So I think you guys provide 4 different services, and I believe we have all of them. Or actually, no, not to get back, 5. You guys built out our website too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, that's all we have to offer. We don't have anything else.
Okay, then I got everything.
Yeah, you got it all. It sounds like we might have to continue. Yeah. So anyways, you've been doing that. I don't know how long. It's been the past at least a year.
Yeah, we had another PPC provider that was not producing results at all. I mean, they were terrible. They were just not focused whatsoever. Like we just kept getting terrible leads, investing into it, and it was crazy because I was like, oh, I don't want to do this again. So as you probably remember my panic call, like, Brandon, I need your help. And so I called you up. You're like, okay, we're going to get you onboarded. And then we tried it for 2 to 3 months with you guys. I'm like, man, these leads are way better than what I had before. And then we slowly kept ramping up. This was what, it had to be 2023, like maybe, was it like June or January? I forget, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since then, we've been just with you guys like crazy.
Yeah. Do you do other marketing channels now? Like what's been the mix? I imagine if you started in 2013, I mean, you're doing like bandit signs or something, and you probably switched to like outbound at some point. Like some journey's been like, and what do you believe about marketing right now that maybe you didn't believe years ago?
It's definitely when I was like, oh, it's hard to market back then. Yeah, right. It's much different today because everybody wholesales, including their dog and mother and grandfather. Everybody's wholesaling.
When I went to a conference in Phoenix and needed like 4 Uber drivers throughout the whole time I was there, and 2 of them wholesaled. That's how I knew it was bad.
Yeah, when your Uber driver also wholesales, it's bad. What my belief about marketing is you got to diversify. You've got to diversify. So what we were doing before that, we were doing cold calling and texting, and now because of the regulation and the squeeze of that's going on, we're not seeing nearly the results that we were seeing before. Just not there anymore. So we actually decided to cut cold calling and texting and put that budget into PPC. So that's what we decided to do. And that's an interesting thing is with the PPC lead, it's, you almost have to be like, hurry up and wait. If you know what I mean, is you're not like, okay, lead came in, you got to call this lead. You're like, okay, lead's going to come in. Come on. And when you do get the lead,
all
what?
hands on deck. It's like the second it comes in, it's going to be all hands on deck, but you
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know what will happen. Like,
Yeah.
because it's slower. It's a slower trickle of lead flow if you're used to
Yeah.
like, I talk to people that have cold calling operations where they're used to getting 10 to 50 leads a day in some cases.
Well, that was us. We were getting like 20 to sometimes 40 leads a day. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of a brain damage. It was. We just kept getting like cold prospects, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm getting like 20, 30 leads a day. Out of those, like 99 leads close a deal. Whereas like with PPC, it's typically it should be between like 10 and 15. And we were doing that earlier. We were closing, I believe, 1 in 7, 1 or 8. I'm not doing that now. We're having some troubles there. But I'm like, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to pay more for a lead. I get that. But I'm going to get far less leads to close a deal? I want to do that instead. And that's what we did. So we made that trade of saying, I would rather get less leads, but higher quality leads, and yet they're going to be more expensive. That's fine. The economics makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I can tell you how the journey's changed for me. Like back when you and I first met each other, we had people like busting down our door in our pipeline, like, I'm sick of cold call. I need PPC. And that was kind of the story for a while there, especially as texting was kind of winding down. Recently, though, it's a lot more of like, I'm sick of cold call. I need PPC or PPL, right? So it's kind of like in this whole journey of shifting from cold to warm lead channels, PPL has kind of become a lot more popular recently. I'm curious if you guys ever gone down that direction at all?
We have. You and I had conversations about this too. So there's channels that start with an N that I will not name. They claim to be a really good channel. And the thing about these pay-per lead channels is I would question their how do I say this, man? Just the ethics of it, how they generate a lead. There's channels out there that say they're PPC leads, but they're really not. They're actually cold calling leads, texting leads that they resubmit to be a so-called lead that you purchase. So for them, it maybe takes $18, $20 to generate that lead, but yet they sell it for $200, and that's a huge, massive markup. I'm not saying they're doing that. I've just heard. And the other part of it is very frustrating is they submit leads that people say, I didn't submit my information. And you're like, what? I paid $300 for this lead. What do you mean you didn't submit your information? What do I do with you? And then you go through a refund process, which is not a refund. It's not a refund. They credit your account. They never give you the money back. Guess who makes the money? They do, right? So I got off that PPL train and with those providers, and it's been better. It's been much, much better. Now it's just really frustrating because we saw the leads per conversion were going through the freaking roof. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're gonna need like 40 leads to close one deal. That's insane. This is not a motivated lead channel. This is like cold calling, texting, but yet it's higher cost. That doesn't make any sense. So that's my gripe about PPL.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. So you did see that. It is interesting because that's the thing we battle with is lead companies are like, they're PPC leads. But if you like have had in your business both types of lead, the difference. I'm sure they're very different. And nothing that you said is exclusive to PPL. Like I'm sure in PPC, if you haven't already, you will eventually get a lead that says I didn't submit a form online. That will happen. Just because I don't know. I wish I knew how that happened, right? Somebody was drunk on your website or something. I don't know. I don't know how you got that lead. It happens, but the frequency with which it happens is probably the biggest change.
And that was the issue. Yeah, that was the exact issue. It wasn't that it's only exclusive to PPL. No. You're spot on. It's the amount of people that say they never filled out the form. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not selling my house. Yeah, it just the percentage of those leads was way higher.
Sure, that makes sense. I can tell you a process that, or the issue that a lot of people go through when they transition from outbound to inbound channels is notoriously they're like, oh, it's the same sales, but the leads are better. This is going to be a piece of cake. And then people run into issues with that because like the leads are different. If you take the same habits that you have with outbound leads and you try to apply them to inbound leads, it tends to not work as well.
No, yeah, it isn't.
When you think like better leads, you just assume I just do the same thing and I'll close them better. That's not exactly true. I mean, it'd be hard to close them worse than a cold call lead, but with the expense of these leads, you have to close them pretty well for it to actually be worth it. So I'm curious in that journey that you've gone through, what have been the things that you've learned from a sales and sales process standpoint?
Sure. I mean, a good analogy is when I had a flip many years ago that I lost $110,000 on. Wow. I was in a bad spot. So
that's 3 of your salaries from back when you were a nurse.
It was, but my whole thing was like, I survived $110,000 loss. To me, that was crazy because I only made during that time as a nurse, what, $75,000, $80,000 a year. So for me, I lost my entire salary in one deal and then some. So it really stung having to pay to be in business. And what I learned through that time is I had a leak. Okay, I had a leak in a multi-million-dollar property. I'm like, holy freaking crap! If this sucker burst, I'm going to be out tens of thousands of dollars because it's going to flood the floor. I'm going to have to redo the flooring. It's going to get worse. So here I am, a motivated plumber needing person. I'm calling these people. I'm like finally the fourth person picks up on. They're like, hey, yeah, they grab my information. I'm like, great. When can you guys be here? Oh, we can do it in about an hour or two. I'm like, okay, awesome. Am I asking about price? No, I'm not asking about price. I need someone to come to my house and fix this thing. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the tools. They come here and they charge me $300, like $340, $350 for a flipping 30-minute, an hour fix. Was I complaining? No, I was not complaining because they saved me thousands of dollars in damages. A potential loss. Well, that kind of approach is what we deal with PPC leads. Is someone has a need that they need to fix. They've gotten to such a point in their life that they've actually been procrastinating, pushing the can down the road, and now it's causing them to actually search out to do something about it. Okay, it's not coming from us, it's coming from them. So it's an internal motivation that is causing them to actually make a change versus like texting or cold calling. Oh, we're the ones that are reaching out to them. So it's a different dynamic. It's a different way to handle the leads. And the thing I do not like about our industry is when people get texting, cold calling leads, they're slower to respond. They're more methodical about it. Apply that same kind of like approach to it to someone who's beyond that, right? They already are motivated, and you apply that same like slow process approach, like, hey, I'll provide you an offer later, or let's have a call tomorrow. Well, guess what they're doing? They're gonna go on the next website, next one, to get someone to fix their problem, because that's what I did. That's what they're doing too. I believe like an average PPC lead, they submit their form, like 3 to 5 times with different companies, something like that. It's pretty high.
Surprised. I don't know what the number is, but I know it.
Yeah, because I get that all the time. Is you're the third guy I spoke to, or you're the third person I submitted information to, but the first one who has called me back. So that's one thing that I absolutely love that our industry does. They do this, and whoever's listening to this podcast, I mean, I wish I knew this, because it's probably costing you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. When you do not respond to your leads within 5 minutes, you are saying, great, I paid $400 for this lead, because that's what we do. We pay like $500 for a lead. I'm going to take this $500, I'm going to burn it. And I'm going to actually give it to someone else, because that's what you're doing. When you don't respond to a lead that within 5 minutes, you are burning your cash. So that's the thing, is like when you're approaching PPC leads, it's a complete different attitude. They're motivated. They want to do something about this. They're going to put a facade like they don't, but they do. They're the ones submitted the form, right? So for our company, I track this literally on a daily basis. I've never heard these results from anybody else. Brandon, what is our average? I want you to guess. What is our average response time for a lead?
Shoot. 90 seconds.
Nope.
20
Less
seconds.
than 30 seconds. Less than 30 seconds.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's
And I'm not, I have the data to prove it. Okay. So I'm not just saying this. I have, it's pretty much like 30 seconds, maybe like 45 seconds, because it changes on a daily basis and whatnot. So that's the kind of tenacity you need to have in order to respond to a lead. Okay. But it doesn't stop there though. People say, great, I got a great response rate. It means nothing if you can't get them on the phone. So if you don't get them on the phone, what is your process to get them back on the phone? And we're pretty relentless. People either love us or hate us. We actually get leads that say, oh my gosh, I don't want to do business with you. You've called me 5 times in a row. I take that over us not calling them again. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think it's all about how you handle it. Like, this is what I tell my sales team too. Like, I was just talking to someone on my sales team who's like nervous to be a salesperson. Like, I know it's what I am. Like, I don't want anybody to think that that's what I am. And it comes down to like how you view it. Do you view yourself as the person who's solving the problem and helping somebody? When they're like, I can't believe you just called me 5 times. Are you like, thank goodness I got a hold of you. You're so hard to get a hold of. I'm so eager to solve your problem. Or are you like, they probably hate me because I called them 5 times and that's going to affect how it goes. It's fascinating. I am curious to ask you about that 20 or about the less than 30 seconds to get to leads.
Sure.
Like, it's seeming, it wasn't always this way, but it's seeming now that like most people in this industry kind of understand that that's important. The problem then becomes execution. How do you actually do it, right? Because what we see happens with a lot of our clients is we tell them how important this is and they say, okay. And then they go tell their salespeople how important it is. And then when we're in our monthly calls, they're like, oh yeah, we're totally fast. And then we go spot check like 3 of them in their CRM. Yeah. And we're like, it's taking you like 7 hours to get the leads.
That was us. Yeah, that actually, you're probably talking about us a couple years ago. Seriously.
Maybe. I mean, it's common. It's common, right? Because as business owners, we're like, oh, it's simple. Like, this is really important. Let's do this. But like execution and actually being on that standard is huge. And I know one thing that I can tell you've done is you're tracking that on a daily basis. Like that's huge. But beyond that, like let's just say someone believes this is important, but they can't actually do it. How do you get it done?
Well, it's the age-old principle of what gets measured gets done. Yeah. I don't like to say what gets measured gets managed. I don't like to manage. Just me personally, I'm not a big fan of that word. So whatever you measure gets done. So what we do on a daily basis, we actually have a person dedicated to KPIs. Okay, that is his thing that he does all day, every day.
Yeah.
So one person dedicated to tracking KPIs. On that, he provides on a daily basis a Google sheet that we call our acquisitions KPI. And every person is put on that list and what their response time is. So we know to the individual person, what their response time was. So if we're saying, oh my gosh, a couple of days ago, we had a lead that was 7 minutes. Why was it responding in 7 minutes? Because some people will be like, oh my gosh, that's really good. 7 minutes. For us, it's like, dude, that's an eternity. So what we do is on a daily basis, our daily huddles, because that's what we do every single day, on the KPI meeting, we go through all of those things. We go through gross leads, contacted, percentage, speed to lead, connections, dials, appointments, attended, under contract, right? That's roughly what we do. And that metric right there, speed to lead, is how we do it. So we actually keep everybody accountable. And then what we do is after the KPI meeting, we say, hey guys, remember how we talked about that lead came in and we only got to it in 7 minutes? Let's break down what happened. So we go in and say, okay, this is what happened. What can we do next time to improve that? Where's the breakdown happening? What we're not doing is saying, Brandon, get your crap together. You're not doing your job. Fix it. It's, well, no kidding, Sherlock. I know we got to fix it. But we have a conversation of not berating people, not judging people. It's like, how can we fix it? So that's a big culture thing that we have is we don't blame, we don't shame. We want to fix the problem. So yeah, so that's how we do that. And the way we do that is we turn every lead into a call. So it calls us and it forces us to stop whatever we're doing and makes us to answer the call. So if, let's just say I'm on an appointment, well, we have a system where if I don't get it, somebody else will. We do have like a round robin. It's a whole process that we have in place, and it's all mapped out, right? It's not in our heads. It's documented. We know exactly what the process is. We can go back and replicate it if, let's just say, everything went to crap. We can do that, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are you guys using for that? Like Callingly or?
Yep, exactly.
That's common. I mean, that's one of the easiest ways I think to get it done, because that's the difference. Is if the lead's just sitting there and you have to call it, there's no like black and white aspect to it.
Yeah.
Versus if it's an inbound call, like you answered the phone and you didn't answer the phone. Like it's a pretty simple, like urgent thing.
But the other thing is it's not just turning into a call. I wish it was that simple. You have to have redundancies in place. So if one person doesn't pick up, then who does? Okay, if that doesn't pick up, who does? So you have to have built-in redundancies so that it's almost like I love the mentality of no lead gets left behind. It's pretty rare, very, very rare that one of our leads doesn't get responded to. The only time that ever happens is like if they submit their information at 10 p.m. or 2 a.m. Well, we're not going to be there. Yeah.
And in those circumstances, I don't know how many people are expecting a call at 2 a.m. when they submit the form. I'd be curious. I don't know how many of our clients are. Probably none of them are calling.
Well, some of our team members have done that before. It's kind of funny. It's almost like I was up anyways. I might as well answer the lead.
That's so funny. Yeah, I wonder if they get a hold of anybody. I know you and I were talking once about like different times a day and the lead quality. And the ironic thing was one of our better lead quality times is midnight to 3 a.m. Believe it or not, which was kind of, I think I'd say like contrary to popular belief, because people just picture the doom scrolling drunk person.
Maybe they are.
I mean, maybe they are, but they convert. That's all I know.
Exactly.
They convert. Despite a slightly lower contact success rate, they convert at a similar rate, which is fascinating. All right, let's talk about past that. So obviously with inbound, you want to get to the leads faster, and that, of course, in cold call would be better to do that. Yes, but in inbound, you can think of it as like the shelf life of that lead is significantly shorter, right? Versus in cold call, it's always better to be faster, but it's not as critical. Like you won't go out of business because you're slow on outbound, but you will go out of business because you're slow with inbound. That's
for sure.
What about after that? Has anything else changed in your sales process?
So we're shifting our sales process big time. I pretty much said, okay, all the things that I learned in the 12 years, right? 12 years. Yeah, 12 years. 12 years being in business, I'm going to just kind of like go away. And I'm going to restructure our sales process. The reason I did that is because I feel like our conversion rates just could do better. We could definitely do better. And once the lead comes in, there's my team calling me. Once the lead comes in, what we do is we have a very distinct process. And I feel like one of the things that in this industry that we miss a lot is just the documentation, just the simple documentation thing. And they say, well, shoot, if I turn this into a flow chart, it's not going to make me money. Really? Like you don't want to have a floor. You don't want to have a baseline of what your process looks like. You don't want to see where you're doing great at and what you're doing poorly at. How do you know what to fix? Okay, so if something breaks, how do you know what broke? So that's like just the basic principles of just what to do after lead is you gotta have a floor. You gotta have an understanding everybody understands. Not just one person, everybody understands. And it's the craziest thing. The people who have a process, okay, it might suck, but if by just having a process and following the process, they outperform, okay, people who don't have a process. Why? When your results are random, they vary from one lead to the next. You do things differently. You might do some things great, might do some poorly. It's a hit and miss. Versus someone who's consistent, okay, they will perform way better over a long period of time. They just will, because what will happen is they will pick up, hey, this part of my sales process is not working. Hey, this part is working. We're going to double down. And by doing that, you could actually optimize what's working. So right now, we're not converting our leads as much as we should be. We're way over the conversion rate. And I know exactly where that is because I track my numbers. I know where it's at. It's from attended to under contract. I know exactly where to fix it. Okay, so that's what we're fixing right now. So that component, I wish I would have emphasized it a whole lot more in my earlier career. Had I done that, I can't believe how many leads or how much money I've lost because of that. So it's just when you say, hey, what happens after you contact is the very important thing. Have a process, right? Every company is different though, what their process is, but have a process. I'm more than welcome to share what my process is, but it might take more than you want.
Yeah, well, tell me this, because knowing you, there's probably some visual flow chart somewhere with 40 different steps in it or something. It's not exactly like podcast friendly, but I am curious. It sounds like you've made some pretty major changes to the process recently. I'm curious to hear if you could summarize like a few of the main things that changed, or maybe even like the beliefs that changed that underlie like why the process has changed or something like that. Like what exactly is the shift, if you were to summarize it?
Well, we need to have a differentiating factor. We can't sound like everybody else. That's the big thing, because now more people are into wholesaling than they were before. And they're using the same scripts. I'm not going to name what the scripts are, but some of the sellers know the scripts more than the people actually using the script. Okay? That's how bad it's gotten. So they hear this repetitive script over and over again. This is a typical salesperson. Seller calls in, or you're calling a seller. Hey, Brandon, it's Victor with XYZ company. How are you doing today? Great. Well, the reason I'm calling you is because it looks like you're selling your property on X Street. Is that right? Like everybody sounds like that. Everybody sounds so the same. Or one of my favorite ones. Hey, I'm just following up, right? Well, no kidding, Sherlock. Of course you're following up. There's a lot of sales that are focused on us, right? Hey, yeah, we're the number one company. We have a lot of Google reviews. We've been in business for XYZ number years, whatever it is. They don't care. They want to know, can you solve my problem? And if you can't, then why are you talking to me? So we made a huge emphasis to be on the prospect and take the spotlight away from us, because it's not about us, right? It's not about us. It's about their needs. It's about their results. How can we help them achieve their results? And the other part is, how do you, I don't feel like we're in the problem-solving business. Here's the reason why I say that, is I feel like we're in the problem-finding business instead. Our sellers have an idea of what the problem is. It is up to us to help them find out the actual problem instead. So what I mean by that is, let's just say a very classic example, I'm in foreclosure. I'm 8 months behind. They think that's the problem. Okay? Most people say that's the problem. I would say that is part of the problem. The actual problem might lie, depending on where you get in the conversation. The actual problem is this: I'm depressed, I'm alone, I'm thinking about committing suicide because of the financial stress that I have right now. That's the problem, right? So the foreclosure is like a symptom of the problem, right? But really what's going on is I'm depressed, I want to commit suicide, and I'm just buried with this financial stress. So what we want to help the sellers do is say, this is your actual problem. What we could do is help to alleviate this massive problem by helping you take care of the house, right? People just stop at the house part, the foreclosure part. We go deeper than that. And by going deeper, you're going to turn these sellers who are hardball into softies. So that's the difference in our sales process.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That would be hard to train a team on, I imagine.
It is. It is definitely more complicated, for sure. I feel like sales is a underappreciated career. we pay what? Oh, shoot, I paid with my degree like over $40,000 to get my degree. I'm sure you paid a couple of thousands of dollars as well. How much of us are investing the same type of intensity in sales? Look, my guys make over $200,000 a year. Okay. How the heck are you making over $200,000 a year, not putting that kind of emphasis on sales training? Because there's no degree for sales. There's not that I know of, not a university degree. We need to treat sales with the same level of intensities as we do with other degrees. We need to invest in coaching. Okay. We need to be training every single day. Okay. And we need to be reviewing our calls all the time. So by having that robust process in place, we're actually treating sales at the same degree as a 4-year university level type of degree. So that's to me, I wish there was more emphasis on sales. I wish there was.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's wild. Did you find that sales was a good place for you, or do you prefer sales management?
I like to, for me, I like to lead a team. That's kind of like one of my things that I love to do. I like to lead from the front. And to me, lead from the front means is you don't tell people what to do, right? You show people what to do. So for me is in order for me to be a good leader, I need to know that I need to be able to close deals. I need to be able to know how the process works so that I can relate that to the rest of my team. So right now we just hired 2 new guys there. One of them just had 2 deals under contract. The other one has started 2 weeks ago. This is his 3rd week. And yeah, we're rocking and rolling. Yeah. We're constantly looking to hire, right? We're constantly looking to say, hey, who's next? Yeah, I definitely prefer leading from as a leader.
Cool. We're almost out of time here, Victor. I have one more question for you, and this could come down to sales, exits, something. You have what seems to be an impressive average deal spread for the market that you operate in. What would you attribute that to?
Oh, my people, for sure. 100% my people. A good example is last year, our average deal size was 30,000. Historically, it's been 25,000. This year, it's 44,000. And I was like, whoa, what happened? I mean, it's probably due to inflation. Being real.
It's in inflation, though.
Yeah.
Pricing inflation, I guess, is a better.
Yeah. It could be to that, but I'm seeing that we made one very critical hire, and it was his direct involvement in these deals that has exponentially grew that average. He's able to negotiate better terms with buyers. He's able to get higher assignment fees for buyers. And as far as novations goes, he's able to negotiate better. If someone's, I don't want to do that, kick this in the repair. Well, we were able to negotiate that much better to get that deal. So yeah, I would say it's the principle of you should be doing 3 things as a leader, right? Have the vision, find the people, give them the tools, and get out of the way. So I think number 2 is what I feel like caused that 44. It's the people.
Yeah, that's fine. Because you're doing so in your opinion, a great person is basically just getting better terms with buyers, and that's making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you for everything you shared today, Victor. This has been awesome. And if anybody has listened to this and wants to get a hold of you in some way, reach out to you. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I don't have a huge social media presence. Definitely need to do better on that. You can reach me out on IG. It's Victor GLG. So cool. Victor with a K. So VIKTOR GLG.
I was about to say that because I don't know the average person with your there. Cool. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate you a ton. And for everybody else listening, I will see you next week.
All right. Thanks, man.